my name is Jill, and I am so excited to be part of Graça and be teaching the inductive method. It is something that it has changed my life very much in the way that I've viewed the Bible, and so I'm so excited to be able to share it with you. So we're talking about studying the Bible. So I'm going to put that over here, and there's two ways that you can study the Bible. The first method is called deductive. So this is a different method than we're going to use. Is like coming to the Bible like a preacher. We read a verse and we already have a conclusion or a belief about it before we even have a chance to learn what it really means. And so this one, we aren't really coming to learn, we're coming to tell the Bible what we believe. So in that case, that would be like me coming to the verse Jeremiah 29:11 and saying, well, it says that God's going to prosper my plans, so that means no matter what I do, it's going to be blessed. So that is deductive, but what we're going to do is inductive. And with inductive, that would be like coming to the Bible as a student, ready to just listen, learn, and receive whatever God has to say. So we talked about how there are two ways that you can study the Bible. There's also three ways that people can view the Bible. The first way that people can view the Bible is like medicine. They read the Bible when they are sick, and sometimes we look at the Bible like it's medicine. We only read it when we are in trouble or struggling or stressed, but then we don't really read it other than that. The second way people view the Bible is like plain cereal. Normally eat that for breakfast, and sometimes it's not always very exciting. We eat it because it's normally good for us. It's kind of boring, but we probably should. And with the Bible, sometimes we only read it because we feel like we probably should because we're Christians, but it's kind of boring to us, but we read it just because we know it's good for us. And the third way that we can view the Bible is like how we might view a sugar cookie. It is sweet and fun to eat, and same with the Bible. Sometimes we can view it like it is enjoyable and we're excited to read it, and it's a joy to do it, and we do it because we enjoy it, not because we have to. So those are three ways that we can look at the Bible, and they're not all necessarily bad, but they can be dangerous if we only do them, if we only just pick one out of those things to view it as. It's good to come to the Bible when we are sick or when we need healing. It's good to come to the Bible because we need to, because it's daily food for us and it is good for us, but it's also good to come to the Bible because we enjoy it. And so I pray that that would be true for all of you watching, whether right now you're struggling to view it as enjoyable. So before we start with the first step, a really important thing to remember that as we study the Bible, it is always good to pray before we do. God inspired all of the authors who wrote the Bible, and so he's really the ultimate writer of the Bible. And so when we pray, we are praying to the author of the book that we want to study. So this picture will just be a reminder of praying hands and the importance of prayer. So now we are ready to start the first step of the inductive method. And this first step is called observation. So with observation, we want to look at the text. So we're just using our eyes and reading what the text has to say. As we go through, there's things that we want to start to pick out. So I'll put some examples up on the wall. So the first one would be looking at who. People mentioned like Jeremiah, exiles. So in Jeremiah verse 1, it names Jeremiah, Nebuchadnezzar, exiles. Those are all different who's that are mentioned, different people. So that would be the observation of who, as we're talking about. The next one would be where. So this would be places mentioned, like geographical locations or just different areas that people would be in. In verse 4, it names places like Jerusalem and Babylon, so those would be geographical locations. In verse 14, it talks about the people being in exile, so that would be another location that they would be in. The next one would be for looking at observations like when, like time of day or when something happened. In verse 10, it talks about the people being in exile for 70 years, so that would be a time element. Other examples we can look at would be promises the Lord makes, or emotions or moods. So this would be like if you were reading a passage and you saw that it sounded like the people were angry or happy or sad. Another example would be commands. commands that God gives to the people, or commands that the people give to each other. And the last example that I'll give is comparisons. So this could be comparing to people, to ideas, to themes, anything that just kind of compares or can contrast with each other. So there's a lot of different observations we can make, and these are just some examples. But in the handout or the download that you should have, we'll list a longer one so that you see all the different examples and different things that you can look up and see as observations. So when we talk about observation and studying, if we want to study a chapter, in order to get context, what you want to do is read the chapter before and after, so you start to understand what they're talking about. But in the New Testament, there's a lot of really small books that you can study, that you can read the whole book. And so if it's small enough, try to study the whole book itself. So again, just remember that with this step, we're just keeping it very simple, just beginning to understand the context of the passage and just looking at what the text says. So as we talk about big picture and the importance of context, the reason why this is so important is because imagine watching a movie just in the middle. You would need to see the beginning and the end to understand what the movie is all about. And that would be the same with the Bible. If we only picked one verse to study and we didn't read the verses around it, we wouldn't really understand what it's talking about. So that's why context and big picture is very important with this step. So that is the first step, called observation. We are going to talk about interpretation next. It's just weird teaching it to a video and not to people.
I know.
So then I can't use my illustrations to get like feedback, but it's a good experience.